I want to begin, as I begin every year, by invoking the name and the memory of Rabbi Joseph B. Soloveitchik Zatzal, who single-handedly revolutionized the teaching and the learning of Kinos on Tisha B'Av, spending many hours, hour after hour on Tisha B'Av in the Maimonides School in Brookline in the 70s primarily, teaching and unpacking and unfolding and analyzing what otherwise are quite incomprehensible and very difficult to understand liturgical poems. And he created a mold that has been, Baruch Hashem, repeated and copied. And personally, having had the privilege of sitting there for many, many years, it's had a great impact on me. And a lot of what I do and have done for the last 30 plus years on Tisha B'Av is to try to bring the concept, if not the actual substance, of what it was that he shared with us. There are a number of achsanias for this morning's and this afternoon's, today's presentation. First, I'm here under the auspices of Yeshiva University and President Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman. Within Yeshiva University, the Center for the Jewish Future, Rabbi Yaakov Glasser, who's the dean. I want to thank Rabbi Rob Shore for everything that he did, and continue to thank Yoni Cohen for everything that he did, and to thank Rabbi Dr. Kenny Brander for having set the stage in CJF to enable us to continue to do the work that we do. We're here under the immediate achsanya of Congregation Keter Torah in Teaneck, New Jersey. Rabbi Shalom Baum, and thanks to Howie Grunschbach, who is always so gracious to help us work everything out, and the various lay leaders of this distinguished shul. For those of you who are watching online, there's an opportunity for you to click on and look at or download the material, the packet that I prepared today. The online webcast is sponsored by the Rockoff family from Boston. It's the 40th yortzeit of Helen Friedman Kuflik, Huddle, Ruchama, Bas, Avraham, Shlomo, Ve'eta Malka, Avi and Shuli Rockoff. Here in Keter Torah, Diana and Michael Feintuch and family to commemorate the yortzeit of Michael's grandfather, David Leigh ben Shmuel Zelig, David Budman Zal, Batya and Nachi Paul to commemorate the yortzeit of Batya's grandfather, Chaim Eliezer ben Zalman, Ed Muller, Zechronu Levracha, and in memory of Rachalea Bas Moshe, Rochelle Shoretz, Zechronu Levracha. Was also asked to express Hakar Satov to Dr. Joseph Shanebaum, Le'ilui Nishmas, his father, Rabbi Yamin ben Rabbi Yosef Zal, and Le'ilui Nishmas, his mother, Sheva Bas Rabbi Yamin, Olea Shalom, to Elaine and Scott Liebman in memory of Rabbi Phil, Reb Shraga Feivel, and Ruth Cohen, and Lieutenant Colonel Seymour and Rhea Liebman. Susan Dworkin-Koss to commemorate the yortzeit of Chaim Moshe Yosef Haberman, and by the Koppelman family, Le'ilui Nishmas Tzvi ben Chaya Zelda. So there are a number of multiple Hakaras Hatovs that are appropriate to mention. I want to begin with the Slona Mereba, with the Nesiva Shalom. The end of Sefer Bamidbar, there are 5 volumes of Nesiva Shalom on Torah. And at the end of Sefer Bamidbar, there's a whole section of Bein HaMetzarim. I want to thank Rabbi Yoshua Grunstein from Israel, who already last year drew my attention to the Nesivo Shalom. Last year he sent me something. This year he also sent me something. And as a result, I became intrigued and worked through, it's about 25, 30 pages of material in the Nesivo Shalom, the Slana Rebbe, on issues relating to Bein HaMetzarim, and culminating, of course, in Tisha B'Av. My goal is to share with you some thoughts that I've been thinking about these last couple of weeks. And my goal primarily is to stimulate your own thinking. I have my own ideas. I'm sure you have your ideas. And I have no doubt that in the course of our learning together today, all kinds of ideas will occur to you, and all kinds of associations will occur to you that did not occur to me and that I didn't mention. So I would be grateful if you would be so kind as to share them with me at some point in the foreseeable future. You have my email address at on the first page, at the cover page of the handout. So the Slonim Rebbe, Pichsidis, there is a lot of really deep thoughts here, some of which I understand, most of which I don't understand. But it addresses the perennial question that I always try to focus on at the beginning, and that is to try to construct some kind of a rationale or an understanding of why is Tisha B'Av so important. And I must tell you, for me personally, the question gets harder and harder. I would have imagined after so many years of doing this and focusing on Tisha B'Av that I would be granted some greater level of clarity. But actually, the opposite for me is the case. The question for me is stronger and stronger. And so I struggle, I would even say desperately struggle, to try to understand why this is so important. Sometimes it's easier to understand, and sometimes it's harder. Writes the Slonim Rebbe, Chazal Amru, we're on the right side of page 1 in the handout. You'll have it, those of you, once again, who are watching online, please find the appropriate spot on the web page to identify the material, and feel free to print it out if you'd like. Chazal Amru Sholem V'Dorshem B'Hilchos HaMoed. So there's a Gemara. The Gemara says that we should think about, and not just think about, but analyze and darshan and try to understand the significance of a moed. Now, a moed is generally interpreted as a holiday. We're going to come back to this because Tisha B'Av is also called a moed. And so the next line, he says, V'nichlal bazeh shebechol zman miyuchad etzel Yehudim tzarech lilmod ulehisamek ma mashma'uto v'hanitzchiyas shabo. So it's not just a moed in the sense of a Yom Tiv, but a moed in the sense of a zman miyuchad, any designated time in the calendar that has been identified as a significant moment for Jewish life, for Jewish ritual, for Jewish liturgy, for Jewish observance. So if it's a Zaman Miyuchad, so it is incumbent upon us to try to understand it. There's no point in just living through it. The whole point is that it should arouse within us a sense of curiosity and a sense of interest, and to inspire us to focus on the significance. And if that's the case, so Tisha B'Av is no different, and Bein HaMetzarim is no different. So rather than just living it, let's try to understand it. Shaharei Eitzel Yehudi, Kol HaChagim v'HaMoadim Inyanam Nitzchi. Because for us, everything that we do has eternal significance. It's not just something that is passing, it's not a one-time event, but it's eternal, and if it's eternal, so it behooves us to try to understand it. Umiu imkain, tafkid hayamim. And we therefore, umahu imkain, tafkid hayamim. And therefore we have to understand what is the purpose of these days. So you'll say, well, the obvious significance of, let's say, Tisha B'Av is we're in mourning, lehisabel masha haya ve'einenu. So we're mourning for a past event. So many years ago, we had a Beis HaMikdash. Many years ago, the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. So we are now retrospectively, we're looking backward, and we're sitting today in 2018 to mourn for something that happened in 586 BCE and happened in the year 70 CE. So we are a historical people, and so we remember historical events. No, that cannot be the answer. Lehisabel al masha haya ve'einenu. Sheken am Yisrael eino shomer al zichronos shel avar ba'alma. We're not a historical people. We're not interested just in events that happened and they're gone and they're done with. Im lo shehem kshurim lahove u'la'asid. That for us, the significance of what happened is because it happens and it will happen, in the sense that it has significance now and it has also significance into the future. It's not just madahava hava. The Gemara a number of times says madahava hava. Chazal have a relatively pejorative attitude toward history for the sake of history. Who cares? Madahava hava. It happened, it's done, it's over. So that's not what this is about. But it's about the ongoing significance of the madahava, which is not just hava, but continues behove u'ba'asid to have significance, and therefore we need to look at it. And if we need to look at it, so therefore we have to figure out, so indeed, what is the significance for the hove? What is the significance in 2018, sitting in such a beautiful space, and Baruch Hashem blessed with good lives, and Baruch Hashem blessed with Medinat Yisrael. Baruch Hashem, we're blessed that we're living during this time in Jewish history, so what are we doing? What's the significance of it? And it's not just the hove, but the asid. There's a future significance here as well. Ukvar amru zal, Chazal already taught us, gezer al hameis sheishtakach min halev. Normally, there is such a thing as when somebody passes away, so at some point their memory begins to recede. And even though there's avelus for whatever the requisite amount of time is for the avelus, but at some point you can't be misabel yoser midai, and at some point life goes on and we need to re-engage with the present and focus on the lives that we live and not to be overwhelmed by the avelus of the past. Gezerah al hameis sheyishtakach min halev. However, when it comes to Yerushalayim, im eshkachech Yerushalayim, tishkach yamini. When it comes to Jerusalem, it's the opposite. We don't forget. It's not as if it's gone. It's not mace and done, and it's over, and we forget about it, and we so-called move on, and we just look forward and not back. But adarabba, it's something that requires us to remember. Ki Yerushalayim hi davar chai. It's not a mace. Yerushalayim is alive, and the memory of Yerushalayim is alive, and the hope for Yerushalayim is alive, and the rebuilding of Yerushalayim is alive. And so it's not forgotten. And lachein im eshkachech Yerushalayim dahainu she'ereh oscha kedavar she'avad. It's lost. Ve'einenu, then chas v'shalom tishkach yemini. Okay, so now we've established that it behooves us to try to understand this. It's not just an event that happened, but it's an ongoing event. It has ongoing significance. So therefore, what's the point? V'yesh leva'er zos. She'hamashma'us shelo avelus al beis hamikdash hi hashlama im chorbano. That the point of today is not just to remember an event that happened a long time ago, but to recognize that it is impossible for us and inappropriate for us to come to terms with that event. Uchukala binyano, and we should have a desire for the rebuilding of Jerusalem. That there's this ongoing sense that there is a lack in this world, that the Churban has implications, and we're not sanguine, and we're not prepared to simply acknowledge it and recognize it and to go on with our lives. But we have a desire to have it rebuilt. We're not comfortable and we don't accept the fact for a second that the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed. Nu nebuch vasaluchta nebuch. That's the way it is. It happened. V'tamid hey ma'alim es zichrono alibam. We're constantly bringing the memory of Jerusalem onto our hearts. Umishtokikim. We yearn, umitzapim, and we look forward. We anticipate Masa yibana Beis HaMikdash. Al derech moran hakadosh mikubrin. So one of the Chassidish Rebbes in the 19th century, the middle of the 19th century, Rabbi Moshe Mikubrin, was a very prominent Chassidish Rebbe who had obviously an influence on the Nesiv Shalom. Shehagarua beyoserhu kaasher mashlimim im hamatzav kamoshehu. The worst thing is for a human being, and this is true in general, is when we're faced with adversity, we somehow get used to it. You know, azaigatis, that's it. And we adopt a passive attitude that we can't do anything about it. And we're just mashlimim mamatzav. That's the worst thing. V'kacha ason hagadel b'yoser, hu ka'asher Yehudi mashlim she'efshar lechios gam b'li Beis HaMikdash. If it applies to life in general, so as a nation, it applies to our national state. That the worst thing possible is for us to just go on as if it's business as usual. And, once a year, it's so sad. Yeah, right, we had it, and then we lost it, and yeah. But that's not the appropriate approach. And then he tells a story about the Apter that I must say I'm a little bit uncomfortable. I don't really understand the story. It's a little bit too harsh for me, but what do I know? But he tells the story. He tries to make a point, but for me it's a shtikala. You'll see. You'll tell me what you'll share what you think. The Apter Rav, the famous Rabbi Avram Yeshua Heschel, the Apter Rav, massive Chassidish Rebbe in the previous generations. Shenichnas Elav Yehudi, a Jew came to him. V'tino lefanavas kol tzorosav, and he came to the Rebbe, and Rebbe, Nebuch, I have this, I have that, I have this tzara. Where else is this poor Yidel going to go? He's going to go to the Rebbe. He wants the Rebbe to give him chizuk. He wants the Rebbe to somehow make it easier for him. The Rebbe should lighten his load. That's what you do. You go to the Rebbe to help you. He comes to the Rebbe. He tells him his tzaras. V'yanir and it appeared to this Voile Yidel she'eino mishtatev kol kach b'tzaro, that the Apter is he's not listening. He's not focused. He's not interested. He's not engaged. He's not empathetic. He feels that he's distant. And the Apter Rav sensed that the Yidel sensed that the Apter wasn't holding. So he says, the Apter says to him, What, that doesn't bother you that we didn't bring a korban tamid today? So, your horse is schlepping a foot nebuch, and your wife isn't feeling well, and your roof is leaking, and your daughter is 12 and she's not married yet. Okay, no, I understand. Terrible issues, but no, that doesn't bother you? What? Only this bothers you? And the fact that today we didn't bring a korban tamid, that doesn't bother you? Hainu shelo yesh da'aga ha'me'ika lov yosem. The Apter had bigger worries to worry about. So I understand the point that's at ungegangen nebuch the Apter that we don't have a korban tamid today. But I don't know, maybe he could have, I don't know. I'm leaving you with the story as I state in the Nesiv Shalom. The Yehudi asur lahashlim im churban Beis HaMikdash. We're not allowed to come to terms with the destruction of a gimel pa'amim biyom mevakesh Yehudi bitfilo 3 times a day v'il Yerushalayim yircha barachamim toshuv u'ma'orer belibo. And there is aroused in the heart of the Jew the chukah, the desire, the yearning for the binyan Yerushalayim and the Beis HaMikdash, especially in the Shalosh Regalim, when there was Mamash Aliyah L'Regel, when the Beis HaMikdash played such a central role, there for sure we focus so explicitly and repeatedly. Shetocham Ratzuf, within the Shalosh Regalim there is imbued Hishtokakus Ila'it, there's an exalted yearning. Lebinya Beis HaMikdash. Avinu Malkeinu Gale Kavod Malchuscha Aleinu Mehera. Melech Rachman Rachem Aleinu Shuva Aleinu Bahamon Rachamecha. The whole Musaf of Shemona Esrei is focused around the yearning, the pining for the Binyan Beis HaMikdash. V'hashtokukus hazos hu bebechina shel korbanos. So now it's getting a little too chassidish for me, that you bringing a korban, the desire that you have, the yearning that you have is like a korban that you're bringing. Kamosha Kosav Kein Moron Admor, Beis Aleph, Zechuso Yogan Elenu B'michtav. So I don't know, regretfully, I don't know a lot about Chassidish thought in the 19th century, but I went looking and I tried to figure out who is the Beis Aleph, Baal Beis Aleph. So I think I got it. I think it's Baal Be'er Avraham. The Mechaber of the Be'er Avraham is Rabbi Avraham Weinberg, who's the founder, the Alta Slonim Rebbe. So it would make sense that the Nesiv Shalom is following from the previous Slonim Rebbe, the major Slonim Rebbe, who wrote a sefer called Be'er Avraham. So I am postulating that Adonenu Morenu V'Rabbeinu Rabbi Avraham Weinberg is the Baal Be'er Avraham b'michtav, wrote in a letter, which I looked in the Be'er Avraham, I couldn't find, I didn't know where to look. Ki haga'aguyim ledavar hem yoser gedola me'etzem hadavar. That to desire something is even more significant than the actual object itself. The emotion of the desire is so powerful, and that the emotion of the desire for Binyan Beis HaMikdash might even be more chashuv than the actual Beis HaMikdash, and that's like you're bringing a korban, you're bringing yourself, you're bringing a sacrifice. And through this desire, hu reishis Binyan Beis HaMikdash, asher nivne mikoach ha'heshtokakus, she Yisrael mishtokakim begolas lebinyan Beis HaMikdash. Why will the Beis HaMikdash be rebuilt? Because we want it to be rebuilt, because we care about it, because we focus on it, because we make it such an important priority. You have a sense, or I have a feeling that if we really want it, then the Ribono Shel Olam would sort of be forced into producing it, that we would pressure through our desire in such an intense way that that would be the first step towards the final binyan of the Beis HaMikdash. So having posited that it's incumbent upon us to understand events that we commemorate and days that we commemorate, and this is not just a historical exercise, but it's a very current and contemporary focus. So the suggestion that he makes is that the concern that we need to have now is that we don't have a Beis HaMikdash, and the implications of not having a Beis HaMikdash. And exactly how that plays itself out is something that I hope will unfold, that I will try to help me and you unfold over the course of the day. I came across on the left side of the first page a vort from Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, one of the great Gedolei Yerushalayim, that really points to the fact that we're not really holding on such a madrega. You know, it's very easy to say that we should pine and yearn and look forward to and be so anticipating the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, but the reason why he has to make such a point, and the reason why I have to repeat such a point, is because we really don't. We really, on the whole, we get tzachanetza, we live Baruch Hashem, we live lives. And this is reflected in this vort. Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld there's a sefer called Chochmas Chaim, which is not written by him, but it's vertlach from Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. It's somebody sat down and wrote down shtiklach Torah that they heard from or in the name of Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. So the first Rashi in Parshas Pekudei. Pekudei begins, Parshas Pekudei, Ele Pekudei HaMishkan, Mishkan Ha'edus, Asher Pukad Al Pi Moshe Avodas HaLevim Bi'adi Samar Ben Aaron HaKohen. So Rashi notes, Ele Pekudei HaMishkan, Mishkan Ha'edus. That Mem, Shin, Chaf, Nun appears one after another. That word appears twice, one after another. Perish Rashi, Ele Pekudei HaMishkan, Mishkan Ha'edus. So it's Shtei Pa'amim. It's a remez to the mashkon. So it's not Mishkan and Mishkan, but there's another word that has those letters, and that's a mashkon. A mashkon is a collateral. So if the malva lends money to the loiva, so the malva wants to make sure that the loiva is going to pay back the lender to the lendee. I lend you money, and I want to make sure that you're going to give me the money. So I take something of value from you that I'm going to hold on to, and therefore you, the borrower, is going to be motivated to pay back the loan because you're going to want that object back. So it's an incentive for me, the malva, the lender, to make sure that the lova should have this incentive to be able to focus on repaying the loan. So the Zokt Rashi that the Mishkan or the Mikdash is a mashkon. Remez lemikdash shenis mashkein b'shnei churbanos halavonosem shel Yisrael. So the Jews owe God because we sinned, so we owe God. So we have to pay back God. So how do we pay back God? We have to be good. We have to be appropriate. We never did things that were not appropriate. So for the first Beis HaMikdash, it was this, and the second Beis HaMikdash, it was that. So we didn't behave, so God took the collateral. God took the Beis HaMikdash as a collateral. Now God holds on to the Beis HaMikdash. We want the Beis HaMikdash. So how are we going to get back the Beis HaMikdash? If we do the right thing, we pay back the debt. So the Beis HaMikdash, Mishkan, 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 Oedos, Tzveimol Mishkan, is a remez for Mashkon, that the Mikdash is a Mashkon. Echad alondim atziirim sholas morenu. So the Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld Zoktiber der Rashi in Parshas Pekudei. So somebody sitting there says, but Rabbi, I don't understand. Im churban hamikdash hu mashkon alavanasem shel Yisrael. If the Beis HaMikdash, the destruction, and God took it away, if that's a mashkon, מדוע אין הקדוש ברוך הוא מחזיר לישראל את המשכון? אחרי שאנו כל כך מתפללים ומשתוקקים לחזרה. So we want it back. If we want it back so much, it means so much to us. So why is God holding on to it? Why isn't God giving it back to us already? Obviously we want it. So if we want it, so obviously we're doing the right thing. And if we're doing the right thing, so you should give it back to us. So the answer that he says is that we don't want it. The halacha is that a mashkon, it's a pasuk in Chumash, it's a mashkon if somebody is poor and the poor person borrows money, so the lender takes the pillow from the poor person. He wants to make sure that he pays the money. Now comes at night, and the poor person has one pillow. Without a pillow, he can't sleep. So the halacha is that the malva has to give back the pillow for the night. He wants to come back the next day, he'll take the pillow. But if the borrower needs it, it can't serve as a collateral. So Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld said, yeah, God will give it back if we really need it. But we don't really need it. We don't really act like we really need it. The presumption in the question is an inappropriate presumption. Ubekach hatshuva ala she'elan, second paragraph. מדוע אין הקדוש ברוך הוא מחזיר לנו את בית המקדש הממושכן אחרי שכבר לוקינו מיד Hashem, we've been punished so much, כפל כפליים. So the answer is כי על אף הגעגועים והציפיות של בני ישראל להחזרת בית מקדשנו על מכונו, even though, we really want it, and we say in Shalosh Regalim, all of those things, we talk about Avinu Malkeinu Gale Kavod Malchuscha Aleinu, and we talk about Shuva Aleinu Ba'aman Rachmecha, and we say V'nei Yerushalayim Yer Kodesh Me'er V'yameinu and Benching, and we say V'Yerushalayim Yercha Barachim and Tashuv in the Shmona Esrei. But even though we say all of that, Harei Rov Ha'am Shakua B'chayei HaGolus U'B'chayei HaRvacha SheHaGolus Mashpia Olav Melet Tzachah Pachad Arishin Tag. We're having a great time, everything's fine, and we really don't really want it. So if we really wanted it, if we really needed it, so then God would have to give it back to us. You're right, but the truth is, we don't do that. And in the fallacious and the false and in the misleading imagination of every Jew, we really don't want it. It's not at the top of the list of our desires and our interests. And then he quotes a shlah at the end of Sukkah, which I quoted to you in past years, where the shlah is really upset. He sees In Golas, people are building beautiful homes, and people have gorgeous cars, and people have a nice life, and we're somehow managing, and everything is fine, and it's not a problem. So that's the issue. The issue is that for us to think about today, we want to be sincere, and we want to be honest. We're not, try not to be phonies. So we're sitting on the floor, and we're fasting, and we're in it for a long day. Why? Why? What difference is it? What difference is it? What difference really is it? Does it really matter to me, and why does it matter to me, and how much does it matter to me, and is it going to matter to me tomorrow or next week? That's really the issue. And the Slonim Rebbe reminds us that it has to matter to us. But Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld reminds us that the fact is it really doesn't so much matter to us. Let's take a look at the Gemara in Brachas Daf Gimel on page 2. Amar Rab Yitzchak bar Shmuel Mishmei Derav, about halfway down the Yom at Brachas Gimel Amud Aleph. So in this context, I was thinking a lot about this Gemara in Brachas. So the Gemara in Brachas talks about, the Mishnah in Brachas talks about the Zmanei Kriya Shema, and talks about the various Hashmoros, and the Gemara talks about how many Hashmoros, how many segments there are in the night. And in that context, Zok the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Shmuel Mishmei Derav Gimel Mishmoros Hava Alayla, that the night is divided into 3 sections. Val Kol Mishmor Mishmor, and in every one of them, Yoshev HaKadosh Baruch Hu V'Shoeg Ka'ari, Kadosh Baruch Hu sits and roars like a lion. V'Omer, 3 times a night, every night, 354 days a year. Kadosh Baruch Hu on every mishmar, Kadosh Baruch Hu Yoshev V'Shoei Ka'ari V'Omer Oy Lebanim Sheba Avonosehem Echarafti Es Beisi V'Sarafti Es Heicholi V'Higlisem Lebein Umas Ha'olam. So woe is it to my children that as a result of their sins, I destroyed my temple, my house, I burnt my sanctuary, and I exiled them to the nations. So Segeter Rabbeinu Shalom on matters to God that we're in Galus. 3 times every single day. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yoshev HaKadosh Baruch Hu. None other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. Tanya Amar Rabbi Yossi. Pam achas isi mehalach b'derech. V'nechnasti l'churva achas mechurvos Yerushalayim le'espalel. I was once walking, and I went into one of the churvos of the churvos Yerushalayim to daven. Bo Eliyahu zachur latov, v'shamar li ala Pesach. So Eliyahu comes, may his memory be for a blessing. And v'shamar li al ha-Pesach, Rashi says, v'shamar li v'himtin. You notice a nusach in the Gemara, in the parenthesis is v'himtin li, which is a girsa that obviously Rashi did not have, because Rashi says that v'shamar means v'himtin, and then the Gemara says v'himtin. And in fact, it's a later addition to the Talmudic text. V'shamar li al ha-Pesach, v'himtin li at shesiyamti tfilasi. He waited for me. Eliyahu Zachur Latov waited outside till I finished. After I finished, Amar li, he said to me, Shalom Alecha Rebbe. Eliyahu said to me, Rabbi Yossi, Shalom Alecha Rebbe. V'amarti lo, and I said to Eliyahu, Shalom Alecha Rebbe Umori. V'amar li b'ni mipnei ma nechnasta l'chur vazu. Why did you go into this ruin? A churva is a ruin. It's a building that's falling apart. It's a hut or something, some kind of a structure that's not sound. Churva achas mechurvas Yerushalayim. Why did you go in? Amarti lo lispalel. I went to daven. Amar li haya lecha lispalel b'derech. So Eliyahu said to me, you should have davened on the way. You didn't have to go in. You shouldn't have gone in. Amarti lo, and I said the reason why I went in, I was afraid that I would be distracted. If I would daven on the side of the road, people would stop me, people would distract me, they'd walk by, they'd be talking, they'd make noise, I couldn't able to concentrate, so I ducked in to the churva in order to be able to daven. V'amar li, Leo responded, Hoya l'chale spalel tefillah ketzara. So if that's what you were worried about, you should have davened the tefillah ketzara. Rashi says, tefillah ketzara is havinenu. There is a tefillah, it's later on in the Gemara and Brachas, sort of an abridged version of the Shemona Esrei. That's what you should have said. Bosa shal lamaditi me'menu shlosha dvarim. Lamaditi she'en echnasan l'churva. Number one, you don't go into a churva. Number two, v'lamaditi she'mispalu l'maderech. And I learned it's okay to daven on the side of the road. And the third thing, v'lamaditi she'mispalu b'derech, mispalu el tefillah ketzara. If you're going to do that, and you don't want to be distracted, so you should daven at tefillah ketzara. So I'm going to bracket this section because this is not relating to us. Let's continue. V'amar li. Now comes the part that's more related to us, which is why it follows in the Gemara. Why the Gemara tells us this Rabbi Yossi story is not to tell us 3 halachas about somebody who's walking and needs to stop and to daven, but it has to do with the previous statement about HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Yoshev, V'shay Ka'ari, and every single mishmar, Oy, Lebanim, etc. V'amar li b'ni ma kol shamata b'chur vazu. So you told me why you went in. I told you you made a mistake. But meanwhile, you were in. What sound did you hear? What sound did you hear in this churva? Amarti lo, shamati baskol, sheminahem es kiyona. So Rabbi says, I told him that I heard a baskol which coos like a dove. It's like a bird sound. Minahem es kiyona, like a bird. The omeris, and I heard that the baskol say, when I was in there, I heard the baskol said, Oy lebanim, I heard what the Gemara said earlier. Hashem says 3 times every mishmar, every night, 3 times during the night. At which point Eliyahu says to me, you should know, it's very strong. I swear by you, by your head, you should know, it's no question. It's not only then that God says it. Not only did you happen to hear Hashem say this, it's 3 times a day. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mina'anea rosho ve'omer Ashrei HaMelech shemekalsen oso bebeso kach. Praised is the king who is praised in his house this way. When Klal Yisrael says Yehi Shmei HaGodol Mevorach, wow, it's very special that Kadosh Baruch Hu is the Melech hears the Bnei Yisrael being mamlechim and praying that his name should be blessed. How praiseworthy is this? How full of praise this is. But by contrast, malo la'av shehigla esbanov, which is normally interpreted woe to the father who had to exile his children, va'ilem lebanim shegolam al shulchan aviyah. So Adkan the Gemara in Masaches Brachos. So obviously it's relevant to us today for a number of reasons. I have many questions on this Gemara that are raised by Rishonim and by Achronim, multiple Rishonim and Achronim. I want to raise the questions on the Gemara just to show you the complexity of this text, but I want to zero in on a few points that I believe are more particularly relevant. First of all, to just note the anthropomorphic imagery here that bothered some. Yoshev HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'shoeg Ka'ari, Mina'anea Rosho. He has a head, and he's bellowing, and he's sitting. We're used to this already, but it still is interesting that we perceive of God in human anthropomorphic terms. That's the difference between Beisi and Heichali. What does Hashem say? Hashem says, Nebuch, how terrible it is, how sad it is, hecharafti es beisi, v'sarafti es heichali. My nafkamina, what's the difference between the bias and the heichal? What does the Gemara have to say that Rabbi Yossi went into churva achas mechurvos Yerushalayim? What's lake two? What's the extra? The issue is that he went into a churva. Haraya later on, Eliyahu says, you shouldn't have gone into a churva. What's the significance of churvos Yerushalayim? He went in lehispalel. Which tefillah did he go into daven? That Tzlach and others wonder, what was it Schachter? Was it Mincha? Like what tefillah is he davening? That's like an issue. Eliyahu zachur latov. It's an interesting formulation. What does he say? Pam achas hayisi malach b'derech, and I go in, bo Eliyahu zachur latov. The Gemara doesn't say, Eliyahu v'shamar li'ala pesach, zachur latov. May he be remembered for good. Why Eliyahu zachur latov? And do you know anybody else who's called zachur latov? Right? Zachur latov. V'gam charvona zachur latov. Vos tutzach da. Zachur latov. In fact, al pi chassidus, and I know nothing, Charvona is associated with Eliyahu Hanavi for this reason. I have no idea what that means. But zugestellt, Zachur Latov, something epis is significant in Zachur Latov. Rabbi Yossi reports that when he walked out, Eliyahu said to him, Shalom Alecha Rebbe, and Rabbi Yossi responded, Shalom Alecha Rebbe Mori. Why didn't Rabbi Yossi say Shalom Aleichem first to Eliyahu? The one who initiated the conversation, Eliyahu, says, Shalom Alecha Rebbe. What, you walk out, you say Eliyahu, so l'chora behooves you to say hello to him first. And what's this Rebbe? And what's this Rebbe Umori? He said Rebbe Umori. Frekt Eliyahu mipnei ma nichnasto l'chur vazu. Well, Eliyahu didn't know why he went in. He had to ask him. It's like a way of beginning a conversation. Like Kodesh Baruch Hu says to Adam Arishon, like, where are you? What, he didn't know where he was? Eliyahu didn't know where he was. And what does it mean, churva zu? What's this churva? What, in Yena churva would have been okay, that he would have understood? The issue was churva. What's churva zu? Menahemes kiyona. What's the first verb that the Gemara uses? Shoe ka'ari. And it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shoe Ka'ari. And what does he hear? He hears a baskol, Minahemes Kiyona. So there's sort of a lowering of the intensity. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu is really himself, Shoe Ka'ari. What Rabbi Yossi heard was Minahemes Kiyona. What does Chayecha v'Chaye Roshcha mean? B'chol yom v'yom shalosh pa'amim, says Eliyahu, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does this. But the Gemara earlier said it wasn't b'chol yom v'yom. It was balayla. Is it by day? Is it by night? Etc., etc., etc. A careful analysis of this Gemara requires all kinds of focus and understanding. What I want to take away is the following from this Gemara. Number one, it matters to God that we're in Golus. In past years, I remember one year in particular, many years ago, I devoted the whole introductory Shiur to the principle of Shchinta Begalusa, which is for us a very comforting thought. That we shouldn't think that Hashem is doing fine and everything is wonderful and he's having a great time wherever Hashem is, and we're Nebuch wallowing and suffering in the Golus. But in fact, Hashem came along with us. Hashem is with us here. And the fact that Hashem is with us here is for us a source of tremendous comfort. We'll see this a number of times in the course of the Kinnis, where we invoke the fact that God did not abandon us and distance himself from us, but in fact, God is sitting at the dua right here next to us, Shchinta Begalusa. And this is what is reflected in this Gemara, that Hashem is, it's sad that he had to do this, that Hashem is affected by this, that Hashem is somehow diminished, whatever that means, Hashem feels hurt, feels missing something. Oy, oy, oy. Page 3, Rabbi of Mezhbish, I came across the Sefer Butzina de Nahora. It's a Sefer of Vertlach of Rabbi of Mezhbish, who's identified here as an Einikel of the Baal Shem. It's a beautiful Sefer, it's a Vertlach Sefer, it's a different little shtikalach from this great Chassidic master, Einikel of the Baal Shem. So he tells a story. I heard the story 100 times. I heard it especially when I was a kid, when I was growing up. I never saw it in print. I'm sure you heard the story also, but here we have it in print. So I feel better that I have a source that I could refer to. So the Einikel of the Baal Shem tells the story about his Einikel. He had an Einikel of Rabbi Chiel Michel. Top right, page 3. Nechter Rabbi Chiel Michel k'shar yela katan, hayim mesachek es atzmo b'machba'im im yeled acher. Machba'im means hide and seek. Hide and go seek. When I was a kid, I thought it spelled Hiding, hiding, go seek. And then, like at one point, I chapped that it's hide and go seek. So that's what he was playing. He was playing with another kid. He was playing hide and go seek. V'hichbi esatzmo harav hanal. So this Pitzel, when he was a kid, Yechiel Michala, he went to hide. V'shaha, it should be a hey. V'shaha b'machva zman rav. And he's hiding for a long time. B'sovro, he's thinking, sha'yelad mechapso v'lo yuchal l'matzo. He figures it's taken a long time for the other kid to find me. Wow, I really did a good job. I hid very well. And after a while, he realizes, something's wrong here. It's on and on and on, and by now he should have found me. Ach biroso shesha biyoser, yotza mea machva. He goes out of his hiding place, and he's looking around now he's looking for the other kid, and he can't find the kid. V'hergish, and he realizes that the other kid never came looking for him. So that's pretty sad. Here you go, you hide, you're waiting for the other person to find you, and it's garnished. So he goes to the Zayda, to Rabbi of Mezhbish, and he's crying that here I was hiding, playing a game, and I was stiffed by the other kid. The other kid just left. Zolgu ene harav kaluach demaos. So the Rebbe, the Zayda, starts to cry, flowing with tears. The Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Amar Gam Kein Kach. God also says this. Ani astir es atzmi b'machba'im. I'm hiding myself. V'anochi hastir astir panai. Ve'ein mi mechape sosi, but nobody comes looking for me. It's a very powerful, it's a very simple story, but it's a very powerful story, and it somehow this year really resonated with me. That are we really looking for God? Do we look for God? God is hidden. So God is with us, but is God with us? God is with us. Shchinta begalusa, but are we with God? Are we looking for God? What role does God play in our lives? We don't talk about God. American culture doesn't talk so much about God. Now it's more. Now there's more talk about God. How many sermons do rabbis give about God? G-O-D, G-D, capital G. Do we really talk about God? We do not talk about God enough. We somehow assume God. Like we daven, the whole thing is to God. I tell my students, take out a piece of paper, which just shows how old I am, and then I catch myself and I say, no, don't take out a piece of paper. Open up your computers and go to a blank page on the computer and type in God is. Type in God is. And that's my chelik in this sentence. My chelik in this sentence is for you to type in God is, and then I want you to finish the sentence and hand it in to me. And it's fascinating because they hand it in to me. They either email it to me or they print it out, or some of them actually make me feel good and they actually write it out on a piece of paper. So I invite you and me to finish the sentence. God is. What is God? God is. I pray to God. I think about God. I believe in God. It's all about God. God created the world. I make Kiddush. About God. 6 days, rested 7 days. It's all about God. But what is God? We don't think about God. Do we search for God? Do we look for God? Are we engaged with God? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu was crying, sagt the Heilige Rebbe Rebaruch, because he's hiding and we're not looking for him. And maybe we should be looking for him. On this Gemara, the Keren Orah on the top left has a beautiful mahalach. And I chose the Keren Orah dafka because of this theme of Shchinta Begolusa. And I want to come back to this later on as well. The notion of how we construct comfort in the face of tremendous adversity. That if Tisha B'Av is a day of adversity, and then it's so hard, it should be hard. In order to help make it easier for us, halavai, it should be hard. In order for us to make it easier, so we bring God along with us. We construct notions of ability to persevere in spite of all of the difficulty. So Rabbi Yitzchak Bezin of Karlin in the Keren Orah, a famous Achron, a commentator on the number of Schachter, says as follows. He quotes the Gemara, Boer Erer Mizasa. Top left, page 3. Hinei be'emes af b'shas hagolus shchinas kavod malchusa yisbarach im Yisra. This whole Gemara, HaKadosh Baruch Hu min na'anei rosho, ashrei hamelach shemekalseno so maloi la'av shehigle esbanov, that God feels so sad, God feels so upset, God feels so diminished, God feels so depressed, that even when we are in Golus, God is with us. However, Ela de'eno dome hiskalos malchuso bihioso Yisrael shruyan al admosan, u'mishkan asem b'sochan, u'shmo agadol v'akadosh nikra aleinu b'chol minei tovo bracha. There's no comparison to when we are, the Beis HaMikdash is al machono, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is where HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be, and we are where we should be, and we do everything right in terms of our worship of God in a very direct and a profound way. Avo b'shas hagolos kvodo yisbarach behester. Here it is, God is hiding. B'shas hagolos v'otzer habracha nistam, and we don't have the treasury, the overflowing treasury of blessings. And therefore, lozeonu mispalolin yehei shmo hagodol mevorach. Aval yeshod bechina achas. It's not just that God is with us. The notion of Shchinta Begolusa and the comfort that it provides for us is one step further. Hiskalos ha'avasa yisbarach eleinu ke'av im habanim. That God is still our Father and we are still His children. Betachlis hayichud v'ha'ava. The intensity of the relationship, the connection between parent and child persists and remains even after the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. Asher lozeh ha'golos hu l'masach mavdil. Golos is a big curtain that separates out. And he quotes a number of proofs. But nevertheless, in spite of the fact that we are now in Golus, HaKadosh Baruch Hu still is very close to us, and God is adversely affected by this Golus. To contrast this idea, look at the Chassam Sofer at the bottom of the page. The Chassam Sofer gives a different perspective that sharpens the nusach, the interpretation of this Talmudic text. Quotes the Gemara, bottom of page 3. This is in the drushes of Shabbos Shuvah of the Chassam Sofer. Amru Chazal, Kishomrim Yisrael Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevarach Yotzei Basko V'Omeres Ashrei L'Melech Shemekalsen Oso Bebeso Kach Malo La'av Shehiglo Esbanov V'Oilahem Lebanim Shegolomei Al Shulchan Aviyim. Yuvan, it is understood. Ki ha'emes HaKadosh Baruch Hu u'Baruch Shemo HaGadol, lo ochel b'sar avirim, ve'eno elo nachas evorim, ve'eno elo nachas ruach lefanav, she'amar v'nasa retzono. And because we bring korbanos, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs our korbanos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs what we bring him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets satisfaction and pleasure from the fact that he asked us to do something, and we did what he asked us to do. And therefore, he says, God has greater satisfaction when we do what we do, dafka when we're in golus, when it's harder for us, and we still maintain our connection to God. V'imken yitachen ki yoser nachas ruach lefanav, ki she'osen ritzono bein ha'umos v'sovlim golios u'bizyonos avuro. And yet, even though we're facing such difficulty, v'nichnasim lebeis hakneses v'shoven elav b'v'chi v'anacha, so then, harei zeh kilus yoser na lefanav yisbarach shmo. If the whole point is that God should get nachas from us doing God's will, then the harder it is for us to do God's will, and we do God's will, the greater nachas ruach, he says, l'cha'ora, God should get. Which means that God is not in a bad shape because of the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. On the contrary, the fact that we're in Golus is even a greater nachas ruach for the Ribono Shel Olam, because we're prepared in 2018 to sit on the floor and to do whatever we need to do and to continue to maintain a relationship with him, even when we don't have a Beis HaMikdash, and even under circumstances when it was very difficult for Jews to maintain fealty to Jewish law and to Jewish living and to Jewish tradition. So it's even a greater nachas ruach. Umiu amafsid, a little more than halfway down. Who loses the fact that we're in Golus? Anachnu. Ki biyos Beis HaMikdash al mechono. In the olden days, it was wonderful for us. After Yom Kippur came Sukkot, and we had Aliyah L'Regel, and we were mamish lifnei Hashem. We're the ones who suffer because we're in Golus, not God. And therefore, 4 lines from the bottom, V'zeh she'amar baskol. Look at the knech of the Chassam Sofer on this Gemara. What does the baskol say? Ma lo la'av shehigla esbanav. How do we interpret ma lo la'av? The Gemara at the end of Gimel Amud Aleph, Kadosh Baruch Hu Nebuch says, Menanei arosho, Ashrei hamelech shemekalson oso bebeso, ma lo la'av shehigla esbanav, Oilahem lebanim shagolom el shulchan aviyah. Ma lo la'av, woe to the father and sad to the children. No, fakir, it says the Chassam Sofer. V'zeh she'amar baskol ma lo la'av shehigla esbanav. Ma hefsid higialo. What's it to him? Ma lo la'av. The Av doesn't lose anything. The Av he's doing fine. Adarab, it's better for the Av. Ma lo la'av, he's not paying any price for this. Ma lo la'av shehigla esbanav. Ma hefsid higialo mizeh. Halo avodoso tamo gamata. The service is pure, it's maybe even more pure. Farak, what's the problem? The next phrase, Oy lahem lebanim shegolu me'al shulchan aviyah. God is doing fine. So on the one hand, Zok the Chassam Sofer, God is doing fine. In fact, God is doing better, because what we are doing now evinces an even stronger level of connection and commitment to him. But we're the ones who are suffering. And on the other hand, the notion of Shchinta B'Galus. The last question that I want to pose is, why did Rabbi Yossi have to go into the Churva in order to hear this? Why did he have to go into the Churva? You remember the Gemara. He goes into the Churva. Leo asks him, so what did you hear in the Churva? So he says in the Churva, Ma Amar lo bini, Ma kol shamatu b'churva zu amarti, lo shamati bas kol shemanahem es kiyona, oy lebanim shabavanasim achrafti espesi. Wait a minute. The Gemara just said, Gimel mishmaros hava alayla, v'al mishmar mishmar, yoshev HaKadosh Baruch Hu, oy lebanim shabavanasim. God said it 3 times a night. So what does he have to go? He's saying it all the time. And Eliyahu in response says, not only now, but all the time. He only heard it when he went into the churva. Why did he only hear it when he went into the churva? And which churva? Churvas Yerushalayim. Page 6. Page 5. Page 5. So this past year I had the privilege of studying the Piasetzner Rebbe. Used to be known as the Eish Kodesh, but is no longer known as the Eish Kodesh. Eish Kodesh, so the Piasetzner Rebbe was a Rebbe in Piasetzner, shortly, not far outside of Warsaw. Very, very prominent Chassidish Rebbe, and then came 1939, and he moved with the Chassidim into the Warsaw Ghetto, and he delivered drushes in the Warsaw Ghetto. He buried them in a milk can, and there's a little note on the top that if somebody ever finds this, send it to, I have a brother, Rabbi Avram Shapiro. His name was Reb Kolenim Eskamach. I have a brother, Rabbi Avram Shapiro in Bnei Brak. So if you ever discover the milk can, you should send it to my brother in Bnei Brak. And then in the middle of 1942, he was taken away and he was killed. And I think it was 1960, around 1960, so they discovered the milk can, they sent it to his brother, and it was published, known as the Eish Kodesh, Holy Fire, Holy Fire. So it turns out that just recently, I think in 2017, Daniel Reiser published 2 volumes. Turns out that it's called Drushos Mishnos HaZa'am, that the name that the Piasetzner, gave to it was Drushos Mishnos HaZa'am, not Eish Kodesh. He published 2 volumes. The first volume is the text, and the second volume, which is just mind-bogglingly unbelievable, it's a facsimile edition of every single page in the Ksav Yad of the Piasetzner, and you have to see it to believe it. It's written very small, tiny, and then there are cross-outs, and then there's words in the middle of the line, and then there are arrows to those lines. You have to hold the page sideways. It's unbelievable to be able to work through. It turns out that the Eish Kodesh was not a complete, accurate edition. The earlier edition, there are things there in the original that were not printed in the Eish Kodesh, but this is Mamish, Mila, B'Mila, word for word. It's unbelievable. So YU has a program where they give an opportunity for a number of students in MTA, in the high school, seniors, to study with professors in Yeshiva College. So I don't know how many boys apply for this, but there are 4 boys at the end who have this opportunity in their senior year. They get credit to study one-on-one with somebody who teaches it at YU. And they choose whatever topic they want. This one wants economics, and this one wants organic chemistry, and this one wants biology. Choose whatever we want. But my student, Noam Potterman, interested in Jewish thought, he was interested in Jewish theology, and he's interested in Holocaust theology. So they put him in touch with me, and I had mamish, an unbelievable experience. We ended up landing on Drushos Mishnos HaZa'am. We learned for a whole year Drushos Mishnos HaZa'am, selected passages. So I become very involved and very engaged and very taken by this. This human being who wrote this was a Malach Elokim. It was unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You don't realize the intensity of, at least I didn't realize the godless of a human being to have such emunah in the face of an incredibly worsening, horrifically developing situation. And you could trace the reality that he's addressing and the community that he is speaking to, and the deterioration of the challenges through the course of these drushos. And he's holding on to emunah in the face of horrible, horrible events that are going on in the Warsaw Ghetto. Turns out that the Piasetzner quotes this Gemara and asks this question 3 times. Page 5. In 1940, and in 1941, and in 1942. I don't have the time now to work through the context of each one of them, where he raises where he cites this Gemara and raises the question. But I want to zero in on the question and his answer. And the answer really deeply, deeply resonated with me. There's a consistent question and a consistent answer. Shelo Rak, this is Tavshin, Parshas Bishalach Tavshin. So Parshas Bishalach Tavshin turns out to be January 20th, 1940. So things aren't that horrible yet. For him, Nebuchadnezzar was awful. Shortly after the Germans invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939, there was a bombing in Warsaw, and he lost mamish members of his family. He lost members of his immediate family, like 3 or 4 members of his immediate family were killed. So he walks into Warsaw, and within 6 minutes, his family is decimated. Personally, it was horrible what he experienced. And as time goes on, the situation around him gets worse and worse. But he already is suffering deeply, deeply. And his heroism, the heroism to maintain emunah in the face of this is just breathtaking, and inspiring and humbling, Haremes Bozer, middle of the top right on page 5, Bishalach Tavshin, Shelo Rak B'Shah Shetov Lanu, Neilech B'Darchei Hashem Mala Mala. It's not only when it's easy for us to be observant and to go higher and higher in the ways of God. Ragam b'tzar v'choshech chas v'shalom lanu, but also when it's difficult for us. Kisheho'ish sharui b'tova, when everything is good, yekel lo la'avod b'simcha, ava v'islavos. You live in a good life, it's easy for you, so, you throw God a bone, it's all good, gee, wow, thanks, great. It's good, everything is good, it's great. However, k'shechas v'shalom hu b'tzara, yishamesh b'matzovo zeh, v'ya'avod es Hashem b'shviras halev, v'hishtapchos hanefesh. But the chiddush is to do this when things are difficult, to still continue to maintain avodas Hashem with a broken heart and with an outpouring of the soul in spite of the difficulties. Rabbi Yossi kishehispalel b'chur v'achas michuvra Yerushalayim, shama habaskol. Right, immediately, boom, right into the Gemara. Rabbi Yossi, when he davened in one of the churvas Yerushalayim, he heard a baskol. V'lama lo shama kishehispalel b'beis hakneses, frakte piyas etzna. Why didn't he hear it when on a Tuesday at Mincha? Why didn't he hear it in shul? Halo gam k'sheyisrael nechnasim b'batei knesios, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yoshev v'shoei ka'arin, he says the same thing. God says it all the time. Why do you have to wait till he got into the churva? Remez hu, avalonu remez hu, for Rabbi Yossi and Lanu Asaga, we don't know what's going on. But for us, it's a remez. Mipnei shehispalel b'churva mechuvros Yerushalayim v'nishbar libo yoser lochen shama. It's so powerful. All kinds of things are going on around us that are also always going on around us. What's the problem? We don't hear it. We don't hear it because we're somewhere else. It's not that it's not going on. It's going on, but we don't hear it. When are you going to hear the Rabbi Shalom Nebach Tzebrachen? When you're in a churva. When you're in a churva mechurvas Yerushalayim, dafka mechurvas Yerushalayim, when you're broken, when you're surrounded by destruction, then your ears all of a sudden open up. It's not that that's the only time God does it. God is doing it because you're there. No, God does it all the time. We're not privy to it because we're not holding by it, because we're not attuned. We're not on the same channel. We're not on the same channel, right? The radio's going, all the channels, they're going. You don't hear it. They're going. You tune in, you hear it. When do you tune in to hear that the Rabbi Shalom is tzebrochen, kaviyachol b'chvoidayu va'atzmai for the Churban Beis HaMikdash? when you tune in, we need to be attuned. We need to be attuned more. As sagt the Heilige Piasetzna, he heard it in the Churva because he was in the Churva. That's where he heard it. Shabboshuva Tafshin Beis. Shabboshuva Tafshin Beis is still 1941, September 27th, 1941. Couple of 10 lines from the bottom. Va'afilu ata b'shas hatzara v'harisas Yisrael. Even now, during the times of tragedy and the destruction of Jews, Yachol Liyos, she'yizgala mehem ashelo haya mizgala mehem b'shas harvach. It's possible that we will be able to uncover things that we don't uncover when things are good. We already said this, right? He remembered in Shabboshuva Tavshin Beis that in Bishalach Tavshin he already addressed this question. Same question. Why didn't he? Till now he didn't hear it? And we said then, in January of 1940, she'efshar mipnei shehaya bechurva mechuvras Yerushalayim v'haya libo nishbar b'kirbo yoser shama yoser abaskol. He heard it because he was able to hear it, because he was holding by hearing it, because he was broken, because he was in a churva. How much injustice goes on in this world that we're not attuned to? When we feel vulnerable, now you begin to hear. I make a big deal about Meshulachim who come to my house. I'm not sure exactly why, actually. I'm not really sure why, but I'm like really into Meshulachim coming to my house. And I know what I'm getting into now. Because I say to myself, I don't have to be on the other side of the door. You know what it's like when the Meshulach comes to your house and rings the bell and you don't answer. Put yourself for a second into the state of the Meshulach. What, they want to do this? What, this is like a happy Sunday outing for them? This is how they want to spend their Sunday? So you'll done, they have a tu'udah, they need to have a tu'udah, have to be legitimate. And they're ringing the bell, and they're knocking on the door, and then they get a little frantic, and they start banging on the door, and you don't answer the door. For 1 second, put yourself on the other side of the door. It's raining outside, it's hot outside, it's cold outside. They came from Israel, they left their family, they had 2 months, they're going from door to door. And you're too busy, you know, it's an inconvenience. You're wearing your shorts, you gave enough money at the office already, I gave already. You have to be broken to hear the people on the other side. I put myself into that place. And I offer them something to drink, and my kids make fun of me. I never offer them in a plastic cup. I offer them in a glass. I take a glass, be mechabed them. Maybe you want something to drink, you want some juice. Can I give you water to take with you? And they tell me that the way I treat them is more important than the dollars that I give them. I don't know why. I don't even know why I'm sharing this, but I feel this piasetzna. It's all going on around us, but we're oblivious to it. When you feel broken, when you feel the brokenness, you're attuned to what's going on around you. Last source, Parshas Mishpatim Shkolim, it's now 1942. February 14th, 1942. Ukvar dikdaknu, underlined. Lama lo shama Rabbi Yossi bilti kishehispalel bechurva. Why is he only hearing this when he's davening in the churva? Halo gimel pamim biyom omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu kain. Skip a couple of lines. 6-7 lines from the bottom. V'rakesh nichnas Rabbi Yossi lechurva mechurvas Yerushalayim shenisbatel atzmuso yoser, when his atzmius, when his essence has become obviated, has become bottled, has become totally put down. V'nechrav yoser, and he feels the churban. Bechinas hatzimtzum ugvul shelo, his mitzias, his reality has been shrunken, and he is now bounded. He feels the tzimtzum, he feels the straits, straits, shama mikolo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then he points out, you have to wait till 1942 for this ha'ara. The first 2 times he doesn't make the ha'ara. What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? The Gemara says it twice. Yoshev HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'shoei ka'ari v'omer. What does Rabbi Yossi hear? And Elio asks him, what did you hear? Shamati baskol sheminahemes kiyona. Wait a minute, it's not a baskol, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Wait a minute, it's not minahemes kiyona. What is it? It's shoei ka'ari. Even when he's hearing it, he's not hearing it. It's such a goyne shachab. Even when he's hearing it, so he's finally zoicher to hear it, because he's b'matzav shel churvas Yerushalayim, he still can't hear the whole thing. You still only get a shmek, a shtikala, a something. Even then, you can't perceive of the magnitude of the sadness that God himself was feeling. V'rak ma'at mimenu shama. Ki hu shama baskol menahemes rakiyona. Ubepasuk isa, the pasuk quoted by the Gemara, sha'og yish'ag al navehu, hainu kish'ag asari kaviyachal al chorb. You still don't hear it. You're empathetic, you're psashtikali, you're in the parsha, but you don't hear it. You're not really hearing the full. Even then, you don't hear the full. Maybe it's a bracha that you don't hear the full. We'd be just totally overwhelmed. We just couldn't function, but something you hear. My last point in this Gemara is, who was Rabbi Yossi? Who was Rabbi Yossi? It's a fascinating Gemara about Rabbi Yossi, and I only addressed 3 of the maybe 14 questions that I asked on this Gemara. Who was Rabbi Yossi? So here, I'm not speaking as a scholar. I'm not a scholar of the Talmudic period, so I really don't know. You know, you have to be careful. Which Rabbi Yossi is this? Which century did Rabbi Yossi live? Which door was Rabbi Yossi? Where did he live? So there are, thank God, people who really know this, who lived exactly when and who was whose Talmud. But I remembered that there's a Gemara that Rabbi Yossi, and I'll show it to you, was a Talmud of Rabbi Akiva. So whether this Rabbi Yossi is that Rabbi Yossi, historically I don't know, but I'm going to say that it's this Rabbi Yossi. In my non-academic state, I'm going to zustell this Rabbi Yossi to that Rabbi Yossi, and I'm going to hope that maybe Itaka was that Rabbi Yossi, because that's the point that I want to make, and I'll stand corrected if somebody tells me otherwise. Who was Rabbi Akiva? Who was Rabbi Akiva? Rabbi Akiva was the king of optimism. So in past years, I learned the Gemara on top of page 6. I don't even want to learn it. I'll just summarize it for you. The Gemara at the end of Makos, it's like, this is our 3rd grade Gemara. At the end of Makos, they're walking, a bunch of great rabbis, and they come to the Arabayas. Right, you tell me the story, and they see the foxes, and they're all crying, and Rabbi Akiva is happy, and why are you crying? Why are you happy? And he says, he gives a whole cheshbon, and he says, now that I know that this is fulfilled, so now I know that is fulfilled. That also requires a hesber, but he had to know that this was fulfilled in order to that. He didn't know originally, you had to have this, to have that. He could have had that without this. Anyway, I know now, Yeshvu, he quotes a beautiful pasuk in Zechariah, last line of the narrow lines, Yeshvu Zakenim Uzakenes Berachovas Yerushalayim. That someday there's going to be, the Navi of Zechariah, the Nevuah is going to be fulfilled. There's this beautiful Rechava in the Ir Atikah today, that if you missed the sign, you should go back and look at the sign. It's when you go out of the hotel and you go up the steps and you go through all the pizza shops and you got the post office and then you go further and then before you make a left and go up to the Cardo, there's a beautiful open area and there's a sign, the Pasuk in Zechariah. It's full all the time, Baruch Hashem. Kids are running around, people are sitting there on the side. There's a makolet, you can get yourself a little bamba. It's amazing. And we walk by as if he garnished, it's like, and they fixed the chorvashul, so it used to be like this, and now it's fixed, and it's right there. And it says, ungestabt, Baruch Hashem, it's packed. And we take it for granted. And the pasuk reminds you, Od Yeshvu, it's a shellet there, stuck away somewhere, you'll find it. Od Yeshvu, this pasuk in Zechariah, Zekenim, Uzekenos, Berachovos, Yerushalayim, and not only the Zekenim and the Zekenos, but the Kinderlach. So Rabbi Akiva makes everybody happy, and the Gemara concludes, and the Schachter concludes, Akiva nichamtanu, Akiva nichamtanu. So Akiva is the hero of optimism. The Gemara in Brachas, Daf Samach Aleph Amud Beis, the bottom of page 6, the famous Gemara. It's a Gemara that's relevant to us today because it's the Asara Arugei Malchus Gemara. We're going to say Akina for the Asara Arugei Malchus. Rabbi Akiva was one of the Asara Arugei Malchus. And this tells us the story about how he was killed and how, even though there was a Gzeira, the Gemara gives us the backstory. Even though it was a Gzeira, he continued to teach. And the mashal about the fish and the water, and you can't take fish out of water, so you can't take me out of the Beis Medrash. He keeps on doing what he has to do. He keeps his eyes on the prize. He's not intimidated by Gzeras HaMalchus. He has to keep on teaching Torah, and even to the last minute, to the last second, they're Nebuch torturing him, and he's Mekabel ol Malchus Shamayim. What an amazing, powerful figure for us, for optimism and for faith, in spite of the most complex adversity. The Gemara in Yevamis, what happened to Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim? What happened to Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim? I mean, what worse thing could happen to a teacher when Nebuch all the students die? He poured kaiches into his Talmidim. He wasn't a distant teacher. So the Gemara says, the famous Gemara, we know it from Sfira, that he had, this Gemara's version is he had 12,000 pairs of Talmidim, which means he had 24,000 Talmidim, and they all died. Shnei basar elef zugim Talmidim hayolo l'Rabbi Akiva v'chulam nesu. So what does he do after they all died? He didn't pack up and say, hey, God, you know what? I'm done. I did what I had to do. It's not my problem that you took 24,000 of my students, but I did my job. No, what does he do? He rolls up his sleeve, and he teaches them. He finds new Talmidim, and who are these Talmidim, and who is among these Talmidim? Reb Meir, Reb Yehuda, Reb Yossi, Reb Shimon, Reb Elazar ben Shamua, v'heim heim midu Torah oso sho. It's a Medrash Rabbah, at the bottom of the page, in Chayei Sarah, the same story, page 7. Shnei masar elef Talmidim, here it's 12,000, not 12,000 pairs, but 12,000 students. Hayalo Rabbi Akiva, v'chulam beperek echad mesu, ubasof he shiva. Reb Meir, Reb Yehuda, Reb Yossi. Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi. This, our Rabbi Yossi, is the Talmud of Rabbi Akiva. And so you have here a Rabbi Yossi who goes into the Churva. In the Churva, hears what he hears. And at the same time, must have been imbued with optimism and with hope by virtue of his being a student of the person who more than anyone else epitomized and personified optimism and hope. I want to move now to page 9. And I want to focus for the remainder of the introductory presentation on the dialectical tension within Tisha B'Av, which we have already been exposed to some extent, and that is the comfort and the nechama that is a part of Tisha B'Av itself. So if we work backwards, this coming Shabbos has a name, and the name of this coming Shabbos is Shabbos Nachmu. And then we have Tu B'Av, Shabbos Nachmu. And now let's move backwards to Tisha B'Av. 4 years ago, I asked a question that I thought then was a really good question, that I think is an incredibly foolish question. And actually, I can't believe that I even asked such a foolish question. 4 years ago, and I really got into this, and a number of people responded with the tachlis ha-sweetness to respond to the question that was really agitating me. And the issue that I raised then was about the abrupt transition from Tisha B'Av to Shabbos Nachmu. I was bothered by, on Tisha B'Av, it's so sad and it's so terrible and we're so deep in. And all of a sudden, a few days later, it's Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, and how do you maneuver from a Tisha B'Av and a few days later to Nachmu? So I think the answer is because already in Tisha B'Av there's Nachamu, and that's what I want to address for the remainder of this first part of the presentation. Tisha B'Av afternoon, I've talked about this many times, and I don't want to repeat it. Tisha B'Av afternoon, paradoxically, everything changes. Right? So we know that there are all kinds of kulas that happen on Tisha B'Av afternoon. So after Chatzos, you sit up, you don't have to have yeshiva gabe karka, you could start preparing for the afternoon. We say nachem, there's talis, there's tefillin, there's the certain circumstances, ne'ilas hasandal. It gets easier, and the issue that I addressed many years ago that I heard from Rabbi Soloveitchik, he would actually say this every single year, that why is it, after all, it got worse, Tisha B'Av in the afternoon? We'll at some point look at that Gemara again in Tainis, that it was only b'chi samach l'chashecha itzisu bo es ha'or. So at the time when the Beis HaMikdash was mamish burnt, why does it get worse? It should get worse. Why does it get better? Why does it get easier? But it gets easier. It already gets easier because shafach hamaso aleitzim v'alavonim, that God vented his anger on the place and not on the Jewish people, and therefore it gets easier for us. I have not quoted this Beis Yosef at the end of Tov Kof Nun Dalet. The Beis Yosef in top of page 9, Kasav Harash, it's about the bottom left, about 10, 12 lines up where the lines are narrow. He quotes a Russian Tshuva. Shesha'alta im betisha b'av min hamincha l'mayla o samach lemincha ktana im yachol adam lirchotz panav yadav v'raglav lehaker. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Lehaker means to cool off, not lehakar. I don't know, I'm not sure. The question is, maybe you're allowed to wash your panav yadav v'raglav, you're allowed to wash yourself to cool off on Tisha B'Av afternoon. I amrinan miktsas hayom kukulo, kiven dahava avelos yeshana. Do we say miktsas hayom kukulo with regard to rechitza on Tisha B'Av? Because when it comes to avelus, so we know avelus chadasha, there is a principle of miktsas hayom kukulo. The last day of Shiva is not a whole day of Shiva. It's a miktsas hayom kukulo. You get up in the morning and you daven, and after davening, so people come on Menachem, and then you walk around the block and miktsas hayom kukulo. Is there Miktzas Hayom Kekulo on Tisha B'Av? This is an old shaila, an old question. Already, the Eitzer HaGa'onim quote from Rabbi, who addressed the issue of Miktzas Hayom Kekulo. There were those who felt that it should be Miktzas Hayom Kekulo. The Ga'onim are extremely distraught and upset. Absolutely not, under no circumstances. Could you imagine by now, we're done, Shain Genik, we'll daven, and we're finished, then the Miktzas Hayom Kekulo. Absolutely not. But you notice that even as far as the Rosh, and the Rosh quoted in the Beis Yosef, so we're not talking about Miktzas Hayom Kekulo with regard to Achila or Sisiya. Maybe there's that Pesashtikala, Ibigablib, Miktzas Hayom Kekulo. The issue is Rechitzas Panav Yadav Haraglav. Even here, answers the Rosh quoted by the Beis Yosef, Chalila v'chas. That's very strong language. God forbid, wash your mouth out with soap. You shouldn't even be saying something like this. Ela kol hayom asur. Ad kan. Because of hakolbo, mishemekel lirchutz min hamincha l'maylo raglov, over al divrei chachamim. However, there's one exception, he quotes. It's really interesting. There's one exception. Ach minhag kodum is an old minhag. Shehanashim rochtzos roshon min hamincha u'lamayla b'yom Tisha B'Av. That there are women who do this. Now, this is I'm not comfortable, you'll see in a minute. He's writing this in the 16th century, and I would just say, Baruch Shechianu v'kiyimanu v'giyanu l'zman hazeh, where women today are in an entirely different state in terms of Torah knowledge. Thank God, thank God. And the comments that he makes here are inappropriate for today. So before we read them, I'm inviting you to recognize that we have to put ourselves into the 16th century and maybe appreciate that with regard to this, as with regard to other things, Baruch Hashem, we're not living in the 16th century. Min ha'kodum she'hanashim rochtzos rosham and aminchu l'mayla b'yom Tisha B'Av. V'ziknei harishonim hinhigu zeh. The fine Yidden of the previous generations, they instituted it. They were okay with it. They were comfortable with it. V'osu smach l'dover al ma she'amru b'Haggadah ki haMashiach nolad b'yom Tisha B'Av. Talk about comfort on Tisha B'Av. Mashiach nolad b'yom Tisha B'Av. We have a Mesorah, we have a tradition that Mashiach is going to be born on Tisha B'Av. Just parenthetically, Shabtai Tzvi was born on Tisha B'Av. That was a big deal for him. He made a lot out of that, as did his students, his followers. Ein Gefallen, Shabtai Tzvi was born on Tisha B'Av. It's a beferish Mesorah that the Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. But what's the point? That within Tisha B'Av are the seeds of the Messiah, are the seeds of the redemption. V'tzarech laso zecher legoel. So what do we do on Tisha B'Av to recognize that it's a day that the Mashiach is born? It's like a shtikal yomtiv. It's like, wow, my God. Inherent in this day is redemption. Redemption sprouts from, emerges out of this very day itself. So we have to do something that people shouldn't give up. Here comes the part that is 16th century. So we let the women do it because they're not so knowledgeable. So they need to hold on to something, so we're going to allow them to wash their hair min aminchu l'mayla. So I would say, I'm not a paisik, but I would say today this heter gone doesn't apply at all, because Baruch Hashem, women today are massively learned and knowledgeable. Lefichach tzrichos chizuk. But the point is still well taken, that the fact is that Mashiach is born today. V'ani omer, ki haminig hahu nishtaka v'lo nomar. But I, the Beis Yosef, I said, Meichel, all the limud zchus, it's just not appropriate, it's not acceptable, it's no longer in effect. V'chol haba lo hakel b'davar, bein ish, bein isha, kofen oso shelo yavar al divrei chacham. Even he felt that it wasn't appropriate. So we see that Tisha B'Av already in the afternoon. Mitzvah Sayom Kakulo. There's a minhag for women, for washing the hair, in order to remind us of the fact that the Mashiach was born. Let's go back to Erev Tisha B'Av. There's a Mechaber Paskins at the bottom of page 9. There's something called the Suda Mafsekes. So yesterday, there was no Suda Mafsekes. Yesterday, Afilu Kesudas Shlomo Beshato, Basar V'Yayin. There were people who were dafka makbid to have Basar V'Yayin dafka at Shalashudis yesterday, dafka to show that it's Shabbos and it's not a Suda Mafsekes. But regardless, there's no, with the egg, with the ashes, with the floor, that's gone. But there is a notion of Suda Mafsekes. Now, what is the Suda Mafsekes? The Suda Mafsekes is the Suda right before the Tainis. The Ramah says, the bottom of page 9, in Siman Tov Kuf Nun Beis, U'minag b'chol galilos Ashkenaz, le'echol Suda kivua kodem mincha. You should have mamish a gezunta supper, a gezunta meal before mincha, Suda kivua. V'achar kach mispalel in mincha. And then, v'ochlen Suda Mafsekes. And then you have a Suda Mafsekes. V'noagin laharbos ktsas b'Suda Rishona kedei shelo yazik lohem hatainis. So the Suda Rishona, the first Suda, which is before Mincha, stuff it in. You have a Gezunta Suda. Kedei shelo yazik lohem. You got to be fortified to be able to get through Tisha B'Av. So don't just have a shtickle of egg with a shtickle of ashes. That's the second Suda. That's the Suda Mafsekes. But the previous Suda should be a Gezunta Suda. Reason? Practical. To be prepared for the fast. Zok the Magen Avraham, Sivkot Yud Aleph, Shelo Yazik Lohem V'li Nir Tam Acher. Do you know why we should have a Gezunta Suda Erev Tisha B'Av in the afternoon? Mibnei shebizman Bayis Sheni Hoyo Yom Tov Tisha B'Av. Because during Bayis Sheni, Tisha B'Av was a Yom Tov. V'hoyo Marbin B'Su'uda. It's a huge question. I dealt with this also one year at great length. So during Bayis Sheni, did they fast on Tisha B'Av to commemorate the destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash, or they did not fast because, Baruch Hashem, now we have a second Beis HaMikdash. Massive machlokes. The Magen Avraham here is assuming that Bizman Bayis Sheni, it was a Yom Tov, v'hoyo Marbin B'Su'uda. So therefore, Af achshav lo zozo mimeno. Therefore, today we should also have a big Suda. Lihiyos l'zikaron sheyeh hafech b'mehera b'yameinu beis l'sasanu l'simcha. So we can't have it on Tisha B'Av. So the Su'uda that we're having Erev Tisha B'Av is a Su'uda that reminds us of the Yom Tov that Tisha B'Av is going to be. It's reminiscent of one of the explanations of the Rabbeinu Yerna. Why is there a mitzvah, kaloichel b'chi'i? There's a special mitzvah to eat on Erev Yom Kippur. Special mitzvah saseh to eat on Erev Yom Kippur. So there are all kinds of explanations. One explanation is, the obvious explanation is, like the Ramah says, you got to eat on Erev Yom Kippur to be able to fast on Yom Kippur. The Rabbeinu Yerna has another explanation. The Etzim, he says, Yom Kippur is a Yom Tov. It's a Yom Tov. And if it's a Yom Tov, so you have to eat on a Yom Tov. That's part of the Simchas Yom Tov. You have to have Simchas Yom Tov. Elavos, I can't, because it's Yom Kippur. So I'm Makayim, the Su'udas Yom Tov of Yom Kippur, Erev Yom Kippur. It's not a din in preparing for the fast. It's a din in appreciating the ceremonious joy of Yom Kippur. So here also, it's zugestellt. The Magen Avraham says, it reminds us that we eat on Erev Tisha B'Av as a symbol, as a memory, as a connection to the joy that Tisha B'Av one day will be. So we see the power of the Simcha on Tisha B'Av. Shabbos Chazon. So yesterday, Shabbos Chazon, the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av is Shabbos Chazon. Shabbos Chazon, you would think, is very sad. So there are all kinds of minhagim for the Haftorah. When we lay in Chazon Yeshayahu yesterday for the Haftorah, so different shuls have different minhagim. I think in the shul that I daven in Rinat, Yisrael here in Teaneck, I think actually there was a different practice in the Hashkama minyan than there was in the main minyan. I don't know what happened at the 8:30 minyan. When do you say everything with Eicha until you get till the end, the Koamar Hashem? Do you say the first pasuk is normal and then you skip to Eicha, and then mitten therein an eingevar from the Chunav and Ivachacha Yomar Hashem, so you switch back, you don't switch back. But however you slice it, it's 85, 90, 95, 98% the Nusach Eicha. But the Heilige Slonimer on the top right of page 10, and I'm just going to tell you what he says without reading it inside, points out that the Haftarah for Shabbos Chazon itself is also Nechama. It's also Nechama, because regardless, we're still considered to be children of Hashem. What's one of the psukim we say? Banim gidalti viromamti, vehem pashu bi. But yet, says the Slonimer, they're still considered banim, even though vehem pashubi. Zera mireim, banim mashchisim. They're bad, they're destructive, but they're still banim. He extracts a nechama from Shabbos Chazon itself. Even back to the 3 weeks, the Apter says, and if we have time we'll see it later, the Apter says that Bein HaMetzarim, the whole 3 weeks, is bebechinas eshtekala yamtiv. How many days are there in the so-called 3 weeks? There are 22 days in the 3 weeks. Because if you count Shavasa B'Tammuz as day 1, then Tisha B'Av is day 22. So there are 22 days. Lo and behold, there are 22 Yamim Tovim Mid'Oraisa. There are 22 days of Yom Tiv. There are 8 days of Pesach. Well, I mean Mid'Oraisa, but it's really Midrabana because it's Yom Tov Sheni. Shavuos is 2 days, Rosh Hashanah is 2 days, Yom Kippur is 1 day, Sukkot is 9 days. So where the Apter lived, they had 22 days Yom Tov. 8 days of Pesach is 8, 2 Shavuos is 10, 2 Rosh Hashanah is 12, Yom Kippur is 1 is 13, and 9 is 22 of Sukkot. Zok the Apter, the 22 days of the Bein HaMetzarim is paralleled to the 22 days of Yom Tov. So Tisha B'Av is full of nechama. Tisha B'Av is full of nechama. I'll give you one more example. Just one more example. I'll give you one more example. Let's turn to page 11. 6 years ago, I shared with you a very, very strange custom that I discovered in a number of sources that went on in a number of different communities on Tisha B'Av. And came back to it this year. I don't want to share with you what I did then, but I want to add to what I did not share with you then. That's relevant to our discussion. So there was a minhag for kids to throw B-U-R-R-S. I don't know, it's like a little thorny little zach, like spitballs, like I don't know what. Like they used to go to through little acorns. They used to throw them in shul. So Mezuk the Kinnis was sitting on the floor, God bless you, and they're throwing, and so the burrs get stuck in the beard. Right, you have a lang gebort, and some kid is throwing stuff on you, and you're stuck in your beard, and you're trying to be serious, and it becomes a huge balagan in shul. Crazy, crazy minhag. Yosef Ometz, top of page 11, who lived into the 17th century in Frankfurt. The Sefer Yosef Ometz, Rabbi Yosef Yusbahan Nordlingen, wrote a Sefer presenting the minhagim of Frankfurt. It's actually priceless for us. It's like a minhag book. Here's what we used to do. It's not a Shulchan Aruch, it's not a Pesach, it's not a halacha book, it's a minute book. And he says as follows, Tuf Pei Vav, top of page 11. At the Tuf Pei Hey, at the top of page 11, he's very upset about people who go for walks on Tisha B'Av, who just walk around and go to the forest and look at the sky, and they end up being distracted from the destruction. They're not thinking about the Beis HaMikdash. Osam ha'holchim letiul kol hayom b'Tisha B'Av bimin olim. They're even wearing their shoes. Usavurim shehuter adavar acher chatzos. After chatzos, they figured, shayin genek already. It's after chatzos. It's after chatzos, so now it's okay. You can put your shoes on, you go for a walk. Bevadai achar she'ena misablan karoi lo yisku l'nechama. Terrible thing. Ein shum heter. You can't do it. Absolutely not. Min ha'ta'us who terrible, awful, can't do it. Which only shows you that people were doing it, right? The reality, he's jumping up and down because it's happening. The more important takeaway for me from a passage like this is not that he held that it was usher, but that a lot of people were doing it. That's a reality. Next. V'gam hatil ba'atzmo, afilu yachef hu iser gadol b'Tisha B'Av. V'kol shkein, osam hasochakim, shebevadai en zochen l'nechama. People who are kidding around. They're not taking it seriously. Rak yeshev bodod v'yidom. You should sit by yourself. You should be silent. You should be focused. O yisasek bekinos u'b'devarim haram sheb'yirmiyav v'lo yasir ha'evel milibo. U'misha yoshev kol hayom al gabe karka l'sreifas beis Elokeinu. If you sit all day, you can get up after chatzos, but you don't get up after chatzos. You sit nebuch all day. L'sreifas beis Elokeinu yizke l'nechama v'yasis ita masos v'chein nohakti kama shanim. Alkein misha yiras Elokim noga b'levavo. Whoever really cares about God, lo yafsek milakonim biyamim ha'ela al churban beis Elokeinu v'tifarteinu v'golos hashchina. We should focus on the destruction. Nafla ateres roshenu. It's a pasuk, we said it last night in Eicha. The glory, the diadem, the crown of our head has fallen, namely the Beis HaMikdash. V'hayinu lebusha lechlima lelagu lekeles haraya. And here again, it's very historically important, valuable. When we walk in the streets in Frankfurt, Rabbi Yosef Yuspa HaNordligan died in 1637. So he's living into the first third of the 17th century. He's living in Frankfurt. When we walk in the street now, this is B'Lashon Hova. Anachnu od hayom holchem berachovos kirya shel nachrim, korin osanu klovim, v'sha'ar nevelos. You walk in the street, they call you a Jew dog. In Frankfurt, in the 17th century, the Goyim called the Jews Jew dog. V'zorkim osanu betitu ba'avonim. Could you imagine, you walk into the street and they're throwing mud on you. And there's nowhere to go. You're going to go knock on the door of City Hall. You're going to say, Zokman Children, I live here, it's not nice. He's throwing mud on me, he's calling me dirty words. Azoygaitis, that's it. But they didn't go running to some national Jewish organization to Gai Shrai Chai V'Kayim and make a Vayitzaku. That's the way it is. And that's what happened to them. Ilmole HaKadosh Baruch Hu ozer lanu u'mashkiach aleinu b'chol yom u'b'choleis u'b'chol shor efshar lanu she'yacholim lamod mipneihem begolos hamar hazeh. If God wouldn't be helping us, there would no way this would happen. U'b'sefer Derech Chaim kosav e mosai mashkiach aleinu. When does God care for us? Emanachnu osem ritzono shel makom. If we follow God's will. If we just do whatever it is that we want to do, with the freedom of our heart, with the lack of responsibility, why should God care about us? Now he comes to this minute. Osam ha'na'orim u'mishorsim. Mishorsim. I'm not sure what he means by mishorsim. Young people and mishorsim, servants, helpers. Shezorkim u'makim echad lechavero u'misamchim b'tisha b'av ki'ilu hu yom tov. Bebeis hakneses shelanu b'shas hakinos. In our shul, during kinos, the kids were going around throwing stuff and they're hitting each other. And it's a big, big Yom Tiv, u'misamchim b'tisha b'av, like it's a Yom Tiv. In our shul, that's what they do down the block, by Inzner Shul. I can't believe it. You have to be mevayer, aminago Rabbi Kirbeinu, muto la'ashkiach al zeh. Chachmei u'parnasei hador. You know, guys, wake up. You know, Rabbi, stop it. You can't let this happen. Ligdor veliknos velilkos. I mean, he's stark. He's after them. Osam poshim begufam. V'al yihi nesias panim davar. You can't look away from that. You can't let this happen. And I showed you 6 years ago, there's a list. I found about 6 sources that rail against this custom. And I found 2 melamdei zchus for this custom. One is at the bottom of the page. Rabbi Yehuda Bar Kohen Maimon Masabed. There's a sefer that was published in the early 60s in Israel. It's a multi-volume book called Sefer HaMoadim, maybe 8 volumes. And it's a shtickle, scholarly, a shtickle, and it's modern Hebrew, and it's for the Israeli culture to understand about Jewish holidays. And it's a collection of all kinds of interesting stories and chazals and poems. It's written for a modern Hebrew audience about various holidays, various events, including Tisha B'Av. So in Krach Zayin, in volume 7, there's a Tisha B'Av section. You see the top of the page, Minhagos Tisha B'Av. So Rabbi Yehuda Bar Kohen Maimon, who was one of the great Jews who lived in Israel when the state of Israel was founded, his name was Fishman. He changed his name to Maimon. He was a member of the first Knesset. He's actually signed on Megillat HaAtzmaut. He put God's name in Megillat HaAtzmaut. You know, God's name doesn't appear. There was a huge fight. God is referred to as Tzur. There's no God. There's no reference to God. And it was very upsetting to a lot of people. So when it came, you should take a look at it. It's actually fascinating. You read the text, God mandachar shmei, but he signed Yehuda Bar Kohen Maimon Beis Ayin Zayin Hey Yud Bezos Hashem Yisbarach. He slipped God in to the text, and he's a Bailam. He lost when it came to the text, but by his signature, who's going to stand there and fight with him? So he eingestippt the Rabbi Yerushalayim into the Declaration of Independence for the State of Israel. He said he was a gewaldige Yid. So he tells the story. Rav Yehuda Bar Kohen Maimon Mesaber, Dover Echad Hifli Osi, Ki Dafka B'Shor Shekol HaKol HaYakar Mesakinos, Mitoch Yogon Ve'evel. Something really struck me. I was wondering. When everybody's sitting saying Kinis, Hoyu HaYeladim, V'itam Gam Rabim Mi Bachure Beis HaMedrash, eingevor from Nebuch the Yeshiva Bachurim, not just the 6-year-olds, but some of the Gehoben of Vayla Yeshiva Bachurim. Ulefa'amim, more than that, Gam Avreichim Min Achsidim, even the older people, you should have known better, Oskim B'Maasei Kunz. Kunz, it means they're joking around. Kunz. What do? Ma'asfim Kutzim Ubarnokim. They gather thorns and thistles and burrs. V'zorkim osam b'fneim shel kahala ne'esofim b'beis hakneses. Pam b'fanav shel ploni, upam b'zakono shel almoni. They throw it in this guy's face and they throw it in this guy's beard. Ode v'lo evo, she says, I'm going to admit, b'yosi ben shei sheva ishtatafti gamani b'mischak zeh. I got to give him credit. You know, I did it too. Ode v'lo evosh, maybe ode ve'evosh. That's what I would have said. I would have said, I'll admit, but I'm a embarrassed. No. When I was 6 or 7, I did the same thing. I also did this. Because Sheyisi ben Tesha, but 2 years later, when I got a little mature, Timhesi, she'af echad min hakol hamesabel, bohem rabbanim chashuvim v'talmidei chachamim v'anshei maisa, ein mochim klal al kach. By the time I became 9, I realized, it's not right. Why isn't anybody saying anything? Now, I want to do it. I'm having a great time. But, no, I mean, there are other Jews here. They should have. Nobody says anything. So I asked my dad, Anoli, this is not just a wilde Zach, a wild minhag. Uminhag kvar poshat betfutzas Yisrael. V'chein nahar be'Ukraina, Podolia, Bessarabia. This is all over the place. Ukisheshoal avi al ze es rabo hamalbim. Okay, so now we're moving back to the generation. We're now holding in the middle of the 19th century. So Rabbi Yehuda Leib HaKohen Maimon asked his dad. His dad said, Azayim Gefiert, and now his dad goes ask his Rebbe the Malbim. His belos of the Malbim, the Heilige Malbim, tells the father who tells the son, Shezehu davar shebemetzias. That's the way it is. What's the rationale? Nemar, kol ha'misabel al Yerushalayim zoche v'roeh b'simchasa. What's a nusach? Zoche v'roeh b'simchasa. What should it say? If you misabel al Yerushalayim, then someday, Mitz Hashem, Dev Shizal Helfen, you'll be zeiche, someday you'll be yiske v'yireh. But no, zoche v'roeh, right now. You misabel al Yerushalayim right now in 2018. You misabel, you already now zoche v'roeh b'simchasa. Ki chol misabel al Yerushalayim harei be'etzem ha'evel u'betoch tocho shel hayogon hu zoche v'roeh tekef b'simchasa. We're already experiencing, this is the point that I'm trying to make, that Tisha B'Av is itself. You don't have to wait until Shabbos Nachmu. You don't have to wait till the afternoon of Tisha B'Av. Already Tisha B'Av itself is eingewurzelt, is intertwined with Nechama, already with Zoche V'Roeh. Why? Ki ha'avel ba'atzmo, or ha'evel ba'atzmo, machnes tikva b'levavos. Ki artzeinu od toshav l'sachia. The fact that we're misabel means that we're optimistic that this is going to change. There's a chazal that says, Gzera al hameis shenistakach min halev. So if somebody passes away at some point, we saw it earlier, you begin to forget. But Yerushalayim is not forgotten. The fact that we're mourning is a siman that it's still alive. And that for us, that awareness and that optimism is in and of itself already right now. A simcha v'lachein anu menichem liyaladim ulena'arim shalanu lehishtolel be'es hakinos. So we let this go on. We let the kids Hulya and Hutzke and Kunz sheyavinu ki gam be'es ha'evel yesh lekavos l'simcha. You know what? Let the kids do it. Let them feel okay. That they should realize that there's an optimism here. It's not all shrouded and heavy with sadness and with suffering, but there's also an optimism. Page 14. This notion is a Gemara in Tainis Daf Lamed Amud Beis. Tainis Daf Lamed Amud Beis. Mikan Amru, 7-8 lines from the bottom. Kol ha'misabel al Yerushalayim zoche v'roeh b'simchasa. Zoche v'roeh b'simchasa. Zok Reb Tzaddik. So 4 years ago, after my keynote presentation, Dr. Steve Weinstein sent me a few makoros, and he drew my attention to this Pri Tzaddik, Reb Tzaddik HaKohen, on this Gemara, on this notion. So the Pri Tzaddik in Voeschana, Reb Tzaddik has undergone a revival recently, just like the Nesiv Shalom has undergone a revival. The people have Sidorim in Nesiv Shalom, even not Chassidisha. And the Reb Tzaddik is now, people are walking around, people are dancing with Pri Tzaddik on Simchas Torah. That's how popular he's become. I've tried Reb Tzaddik, and I don't get it. It's my fault. I figured somebody must be onto something, but I don't know. I can't figure it out. It's hard for me. But every once in a while, I try to understand it. Here's an example. Kamosha Amru, about 8 lines from the bottom, 10 lines. כמו שאמרו ז"ל, כל המסבל על ירושלים זוכה ורואה בשמחתה. וזה בוודאי אין המכוון לעשות לבוא. It doesn't mean in the future, כי הלא נאמר בלשון הווה, זוכה ורואה. It makes the same point that we just saw. רק שלפי ערך התשוקה והגעגועים שלו בפנימיוס הלב, to the extent to which we have a desire and we're yearning for the rebuilding of Yerushalayim, לאומה זה, to that extent, הוא זוכה מיד להיות רואה ומרגיש בליבו השמחה. ועבור זה, he points out something that I don't know how many of us realize. It's really interesting. ובעבור זה נסכנו כל נוסח התפילוס בלשון הווה. ברוך אתה השם, בונה ירושלים. Right? What should it be? Yerushalayim yircha bracham tosha, v'zishkum b'zorg asher dibrat, v'nei baruch Hashem, yivne Yerushalayim. Bone Yerushalayim. Matzmiach. Not yatzmiach. Matzmiach keren Yeshua. Hamachazir. Hamachazir. Shchinaso letzion. Memnei shebe'emes hemnenim b'tmidius, because it's right away. So I want to conclude with two thoughts. One thought I heard from my father. So we're now trying to, on the one hand, put ourselves in a position of acknowledging the sadness, and on the other hand, acknowledge that we have the capacity to deal with it, because wedded to the sadness is also a sense of optimism. And I want to think that we have the capacity to do this. It's not beyond us. Moda ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayom, shehechazarta binishmasi b'chemla, Rabbi emunasecha. Moda ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayom. We express our gratitude to God. Shehechazarta binishmasi b'chemla. You gave us back our neshama after we wake up in the morning. Shena is a certain amount of misa. It's taken away, and now we're back. Shechazarta binishmasi b'chemla. So I heard from my father, Zachrono Livracha, it should say, Rabba emunasi. How great is my faith in you for having given me this gift. Moda ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayim shechazarta binishmasi b'chemla. Rabbi emunasi in you. And he said that the pshat is Rabbi emunasecha. What we're acknowledging is that God has faith in us. Why did God wake us up? Why did God wake us up? Because God has faith in us that we're going to make something of this day. It's not that we have faith in God, but we acknowledge, you know what, Rabbi Shalom, you woke me up this morning. I thank you, Shechazarta binishmasi b'chemla. For what? Because you have faith that I'm going to do something. That God has faith in us, and that makes it possible for us to do meaningful things. And I want to finish, and this is my last point before the break. So last year, my friend Howie Steinberg sent me something that I've been thinking about a whole year. I don't know where he got it from. It could be his own. If it's his own, it's amazing. If it's not his own, it's also amazing. If you have a pen or a pencil or in your head, write out the words Golus and Geula. Golus, Gimel, Lamed, Vav, Saf. Geula, Gimel, Aleph, Vav, Lamed, Hey. Golus and Geula. Right? That's what today is all about. The twin realities of Golus, in which we are, and Geula, to which we hope. Now take a pen and cross out the letters that they have in common. So Golus and Geula have a Gimel. Golus and Geula have a Vav. Golus and Geula have a Lamed. What letters are left? Aleph, Taf, Hey. You know what is the bridge, the transition between Golus and Geula? You. Ata. Ata is the bridge between exile and redemption. It's not Yenim. It's not the rabbi. It's not the Gedolim. what will bring together Golos and Geula is Atah, is you, is me, is each one of us. That we have the capacity and we have the koyach. That if we understand and appreciate what we lost, and we appreciate what we could do in this world, and how we could make this world a better world, Atah will serve as the vehicle to bring us from Golos to Geula b'mehera b'yameinu. We'll take a 6-minute break and then we'll start with the keynotes.
Beautiful. I grew up with the Rebbe.